How's it going, everyone, and welcome to the number one Raiders show on the planet. This is the Raiders Daily. I am your host, Stephen Michaels. Let's get right to it. Now, I know I was off last week, but guess what? I will make it up to you all right now. In fact, I already did. Here's a gift. The Raiders destroyed the Denver Broncos 37-12 in a massacre. The Raiders dismantled Drew Lock and the Denver Broncos. They had no answers at all on offense or defense. Drew Lock was crying on the field about his ribs. Oh, they're hitting me too hard. That guy looked like a pathetic little man out there compared to a real football team. He looked like a guy that was playing high school football up against an NFL team. In fact, this game looked like an NFL team going up against a high school football team. It was insane. The Denver Broncos are the worst team in the AFC West. I've been saying it since this guy been hired. Vic Fangio is a terrible head coach. I don't know why anyone gave him a job. Great defensive coordinator, but he would never have been a successful head coach. He's too old. If he was that great, he would have got a job a long time ago. He sucks. He'll be fired. Drew Lock's not the guy. The Denver Broncos have a long way to go to being any type of a contender. Now, the Raiders, on the other hand, not too far away. Their defense, still not perfect. Sloppy tackling. Don't like it. But they did do a few good things in this game. But I take it with a grain of salt because it was against Drew Lock. The Raiders get interceptions. Drew Lock's throwing picks to Jeff Heath. Remember him? We need a big game out of him, by the way, coming up. We'll talk about that later, though, not right now. The Raiders went in there. Derek Carr goes 16 for 25, 154 yards. All he really needed to do, though, because guess who came back? Josh Jacobs. This guy decides to return again, and he goes for 21 carries, 121 yards, and of course, the guy who I say is the most underrated player on this roster, and I was the first one to be saying this, by the way, in case any of these reporters want to take credit for it. Nah. It was me. I'm better than you on this show, better than you covering the Raiders, and better than you at picking talent. Devonte Booker. This guy goes for 16 carries, 81 yards. He was averaging 5.1 yards. He had 2 touchdowns. He ran a long one for 23. This guy has been fantastic. I don't know why he doesn't get more carries. In fact, this season, and I'm not even joking, Devonte Booker might be better than Josh Jacobs. That, I know it sounds crazy, but he might just be better than Josh Jacobs. Only this season. I'm not saying this guy is going to, be good for the next 5 seasons. But sometimes with these running backs, for some reason, 1 year, they are just fantastic. They could suck for the next 4 years, but just for 1 year, they end up being really good. And I have a feeling this is the year for Devonte Booker because this guy has been simply amazing. Really amazing. Also, I will say I am proud of Derek Carr for using his legs a lot more. This guy, he's been running. You got to give him credit. He has been running with his legs this season. A couple of plays, of course, he could have had on the field. No doubt about it. The only thing that really makes me upset about this dominant victory by the Las Vegas Raiders is this. The Raiders really should have won 70-12. They left a lot of points on they could have scored so many times. There's a lot of points off the scoreboard. They really did. Think about it. They only had 7 points in the first quarter. They probably should have had 14. They had 3 points in the second quarter. They should have had a lot more than that, And in the third quarter, of course, they scored 10. Then they scored 17 in the fourth. But they should have scored, seriously, they probably should have had 60 points in this game. That's the only thing that bothers me about the game. But at the same time, when you win 37-12, there's not much to complain about. The only takeaways I have is leaving too many points on the board, and they do have sloppy tackling. I mean, it didn't look, even when the Raiders were winning, their tackling just was not very good. I don't know what the deal with that is, but they got to get better at tackling. That's for sure. There's no other way to spin that one. I mean, I seen Melvin Gordon run through about 4 guys. No one's touching the dude. They're trying to tackle him, but tackle him with one arm. I mean, come on now. But either way, my motto is I don't really care about stats that much. A win is a win. And the Raiders managed to win 3 straight games. I've been waiting for this for a long time, guys. I really have. 3 straight wins. They finally do it. Now, is this team a legit playoff contender? Well, winning 3 in a row, being 6-3, pretty good. But there are a lot of teams that are 6-3 that look pretty good right now, including Miami Dolphins, the Indianapolis Colts, the Cleveland Browns are 6-3. There's a lot of good teams all in the mix. There's too many. There's a lot of teams in the mix at 6-3. The Raiders, luckily, they get to play Miami this season still. They get a chance to play the Indianapolis Colts this season. Those are going to be 2 games the Raiders have to win if they want to make the playoffs. Because there's a scenario out there, where the Raiders could beat the Kansas City Chiefs, yet lose against the Colts and lose against the Dolphins. And guess what? The Raiders don't make the playoffs. So we don't want that. I don't think the Raiders can win the AFC West, to be honest with you. That's what I do. I do honest radio. And I just don't believe that can happen. I know Drew Lock throws 4 interceptions in this game against the Raiders. I get it. But it's Drew Lock. And the Raiders' defense they have been playing better. There's no doubt about it. Their offense actually has been stalling a little bit. Derek Carr's numbers haven't been that, he's been missing guys that have been open. But they've been weathering the storm because their defense is playing better, and their offense, even when they're not 100% on, they're still really good because they got a lot of weapons. And when Josh Jacobs, of course, goes for 112 yards and you got Devonte Booker going for 81, the chances are you are not going to beat this Las Vegas Raiders team. And an offensive line, by the way, where you have no Richie Incognito, you have no Colton Miller, you have no Trent Brown. Does it matter? No. Brandon Parker is in the game, and it really doesn't matter. It's like Trent Brown's in there. I don't know what the point of paying Trent Brown is. After the season's over, I fully expect the Raiders just to get out of that Trent Brown contract. There's no point of paying him. Yes, he's a big monster. Yes, it's better when he's in there because he's bigger. Maybe you can run behind him. But as far as protecting the quarterback and the run game, I mean, come on, guys. Come on. This team just ran for 203 total yards. Drew Lock passed for 247. Think about that. That is crazy. I mean, Derek Carr threw for 154. The Raiders ran for 203. So, I mean, as long as the Raiders can run like this and their defense can force some 3-and-outs, the Raiders are going to be okay. They are going to be okay as long as this defense can hold up. Now, Darren Waller, he has to get going again. I know he's the leading, receiver on a team, but it still does not feel like Darren Waller of last season. He had 3 catches, 37 yards in this game. He's got to catch more passes. He's dropped some. I mean, right in his hands. Right in his hands, he's dropped passes. Henry Ruggs on these go routes with Derek Carr, for some reason, I don't know why, these guys can't connect on these things, but they got to figure that out. Hunter Renfro, another guy who's underrated in my opinion. This guy's been phenomenal. Josh Jacobs, like I said, he's starting to get it. You know, he had a down game, big game again. Hopefully he continues that. And don't forget, guys, Bryan Edwards is back. Now, I know he only had one catch. It was 16 yards. But they're easing him back in. And by the time, in fact, we can start talking about it now. As you know, the big game, Sunday Night Football, Raiders versus Chiefs. The Raiders already defeated the Kansas City Chiefs, and now this game will be in Vegas, where the Kansas City Chiefs are going to want to embarrass you and the Raiders. They want to embarrass the entire Raider Nation, just because the Raiders, I guess, took a bus around the stadium. Andy Reid has a big problem with it. The most overrated coach in NFL history that has a quarterback that just improvises on every single play. Andy Reid doesn't do anything. I mean, what kind of play calling is that? Hey, we're going to do a double eagle F4-2 right now. Wing out right, okay? Sure, coach. That's what Patrick Mahomes says. He snaps the ball and he runs around, and guys are just running around. There is no play there. It's all improvised. I mean, this guy's just running around. There is no play. Every play's a broken play. And Patrick Mahomes makes it like that on purpose so he can basically play street football. Like he's out, playing with his friends. That's what's going on here. And Andy Reid has a Super Bowl ring for it. And people bow down to him like he's some kind of great coach. The guy's the most underrated coach in the NFL history. That's what I'm going to say right now. Andy Reid, this is a guy that was known to choke every time he made the playoffs. Every time there's a big game, he chokes. He finally wins, and now everyone's going to praise the guy like he's Bill Belichick. Come on now. That guy couldn't even lace John Gruden's boots. This game, I'm telling you right now, yes, the Kansas City Chiefs have more talent than the Raiders. The question is, who is going to have more heart? The question is, are the Chiefs going to be able to stop Josh Jacobs this time? Are they going to be able to stop Devonte Booker this time? Is Darren Waller going to step up? Is Henry Ruggs going to step up? Because it's going to take every single one of those guys on that Raiders starting team and the backups. Whoever is playing on that field in Vegas on Sunday night, it is going to take every single one of those Raiders players, all their effort, everything they got to beat the Chiefs again. Now, the Chiefs just so happen coming off a bye because the NFL hates the Raiders. We don't need to talk. We all know that. Andy Reid's never lost, by the way, with Patrick Mahomes coming off a bye. And the NFL keeps, they want to give him the Raiders after the bye for obvious reasons. Anyways, here's the thing. The Raiders already beat them. They have the blueprint. You got to get after Patrick Mahomes. You got to make him feel uncomfortable. Jonathan Abram, be ready. You are the new hitman. I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to wish anyone injury on this show, especially on my public show. This isn't the subscription group, the Raiders Daily Elite, by the way. 2 spots open. You got to email theraidersdaily@gmail.com for more details if you want to get into that group. Anyways, this is a public show. All I'm going to say is you got to go out there and hit people and make them not want to come back onto the field. You got to hit as hard as you can. That's what this game's going to come down to. This is a violent game. Patrick Mahomes is going to be running all over the place. If you noticed in the scheme of the Raiders defense, I do because that's all I do is watch film, you will see the Raiders in the last 3 games have been blitzing their DBs like crazy. That's been their new little play design, their new little blitz, is blitzing the DBs. Jonathan Abram, he's been coming off the blitzes. Lawson, he's been blitzing. LaMarcus Joyner, he's been blitzing. All these DBs been blitzing. I want Abram on a blitz right to Mahomes. That means you got to be there fast, Abram. You got to be there fast, and you got to hit him hard. Hit him hard. Take the penalty. Take the penalty if it's going to mean you're going to win the game, and you know what I mean by that. Take the penalty. And for the other part, you got to make sure that Travis Kelce doesn't ruin you. This guy hates your guts. And everyone listening right now, all you Raider fans, Travis Kelce hates you. He hates the Raiders. He hates John Gruden. He is the enemy. This is the Chiefs. This is versus the Raiders. This is the biggest, most heated. There is no bigger divisional matchup in the NFL. The Broncos and the Raiders kind of big, but let's be honest, the Raiders pretty much own the Broncos. If you look at they just pretty much always owned the Broncos. The Broncos had a couple good years with Peyton Manning, but other than that, who cares? Chiefs, Raiders, that's what people care about. That's the big game. That's why it's on Sunday Night Football. And the Raiders need to show the world it wasn't a fluke the first game. This is a big game for the Raiders. They need to stack up more victories. But this isn't just a big game for the Raiders, for their standings and their chances to make the playoffs, which it is. But it's not just for that reason. If the Raiders beat the Chiefs for the second time in one season, everyone in the national media, to the local media, to the pool reporters who hate the Raiders, the guy who posts stats about the Raiders losing every week just because he can't stand the team so much, and he's so mad they moved to Las Vegas, he can't get over it. Dude, just go cover the 49ers. No one minds if you're not going to be there anymore, Josh. No one likes you. I know you guys are good at grammar, but you don't know the X's and O's. You don't know football. That's why people listen to me. That's why my podcast is bigger than all of your stupid podcasts combined. Because you're good at punctuation. Congratulations. But you hate this team. You don't represent this team. You don't know how to talk about this team. That's why I'm here. I tell the fans straight up. The good, bad, and the ugly. All you want to tell them is the ugly and the bad because you hate them. And I don't know why you choose to cover a team you hate unless you can't find a job anywhere else. But you should. But anyways, this game goes down to guys like that. Because if the Raiders can beat the Chiefs, not once but twice, there is no way they can possibly go on Twitter or the radio or their stupid little articles nobody reads. There is no possible way. They can't say the Raiders and the national media, NFL Network, ESPN. I guarantee you if they beat the Chiefs, people are going to start talking about their Raiders, not in a playoff way anymore. Get ready, Raider Nation, because they're going to start talking about you guys in the Super Bowl. And that's not a joke. If the Raiders beat the Chiefs, this team, like I said, they never lose. The Raiders beat them. It was such a big shock. If they do it twice, and the Raiders all of a sudden are 7-3, people will start talking about the Las Vegas Raiders and the Super Bowl. The playoffs, they'll talk about that, but they'll be legit. You know how they have those hot topics on those shows? Will the Raiders make the Super Bowl? Will anyone be able to defeat the Raiders? That will be the new narrative. I am telling you right now. That's how big this game is for the silver and black. That's why all these guys need to step up. Max Crosby on defense. He needs to get after Mahomes. Carl Nassib. The guy hasn't done much this season. Got an interception, by the way, against Drew Lock. But he needs to get after the quarterback. Mo Hurst, he'll be back. Come on, let's get after Mahomes. You got to get a lot of inside pressure. Remember, against Patrick Mahomes, that's how you beat the Chiefs. A lot of inside pressure. You got to have a spy on him. He likes to throw those balls up in the air, hoping Tyreek Hill or Travis Kelce will run under him. That's when you need a guy like Jeff Heath to run under and pick him off. But it's going to start with the guys in the middle so it helps out the guys on the outside. And I don't think you're going to have Corey Littleton for this game. And hey, listen, I hate to sound terrible here, but That's probably not a bad thing. Corey Littleton has not lived up to his contract. The Raiders look better in there when Nicholas Morrow is in there. He does. They just look better. When you see Kwiatkowski more in that game and Morrow next to him, they look a lot better. I don't know what it is, but they just do. They look like a lot better team. Littleton sucks in coverage. They brought him in to be better in coverage, but he sucks. I'm not saying Morrow's a Pro Bowler, not by a long shot, but they still are better with Corey Littleton out of lineup. This Raiders team stands a chance against the Chiefs. They've already done it. Now, like I said, it's going to be hard. They are going up against the best. I mean, pretty much the best, right? The Chiefs are, their total offense, they're ranked the second in the NFL, sorry. Their rush offense, they're ranked 14th. But their pass offense, they're ranked first in the NFL. Points per game, they're ranked second in the NFL. Third down offense, they're ranked second in the NFL. It just keeps going and going and going. But then their defense, their total defense, they're ranked 14th. Their rush defense, and this is where we get them. This is where we need Jacobs and Booker and Richard and who knows who else. Honestly, everyone you can throw at them. Theo Riddick, activate them. Because the Chiefs, their rush defense is ranked 29th in the NFL. And that's how you beat them. You want to slow that clock. You want to control the tempo. Get up to the line of scrimmage fast. Get up there and just sit and wait. Run the ball. Get up to the line of scrimmage quick. Sit and wait and run the ball. And eventually, hopefully, these big offensive linemen can create enough holes and gaps where guys like Booker can run through them. Guys like Jacobs can pound the rock and pound these guys, hurt them. Physical runs, beat them down, beat those linebackers down, beat that defensive line down. And know what that does? Opens up the play action pass. Now we know the Chiefs, they're top 10 against the pass. They really are. But when you're running the ball so well like that, like the Raiders did last time, it's going to open up the pass. So that's when you need guys like the Alligator to catch the football, not drop it. You need Darren Waller. You need Brian Edwards. You need Henry Ruggs. You need Hunter Renfro. Sounds like a Pro Bowl team. Listen to all these names. You need all of these guys. And Zay Jones. I know the guy doesn't show up that much, but wherever you are, Zay Jones, show up. Because the Raiders will need everyone for this game. By the way, the Chiefs' red zone defense, they're ranked 29th in the NFL. 29th. What were the biggest problems for the Raiders against the Broncos? They got in the red zone, they kicked field goals. That's been a problem. That was a problem against the Cleveland Browns. They weren't scoring enough touchdowns. They were just kicking field goals. The Raiders got to get better when it comes to they got to get better on the offense when they're in the red zone. They're ranked 22nd right now. They got to get better on that. They really, really do. Meanwhile, by the way, red zone offense, in case you want to know, the Chiefs are ranked 10th. But either way, this is how you beat this Kansas City Chiefs team. You got to run that football down their throats. And if you can have success, you stand a chance of winning. That's just the way it is. Remember, the Carolina Panthers, they were fighting this Kansas City Chiefs team pretty much all game long. They gave them a dogfight. They were running the football well. And that's what the Raiders are going to have to do in this game. And listen, you can't say it's impossible because it already happened. And it wasn't that long ago. Will it be tough to beat the Chiefs on a bye week with Patrick Mahomes? Yeah, it never happened before. Doesn't mean it can't. The Raiders have done it once. They can do it twice. It's going to, like I said, it's going to take every single player with the helmet who's playing on that field in Vegas on Sunday night to give it their all and play better and just be better than the guy you're up against to win this game. But can the Raiders do it? Absolutely. Now, I do worry about the Chiefs. They have this other weapon, their running back, this Elaire guy. But he's no Josh Jacobs. Come on. Not even close. Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Sammy Watkins. They got this Hardman. They got all these, weapons, the Chiefs. But so do the Raiders. Nelson Aguilar, Darren Waller, Hunter Renfro, Zay Jones. By the way, get Foster Monroe going. Henry Ruggs, Jason Witten, Alec Ingold. I don't know if we'll see a lot of him. He played a couple times against the Broncos, and the guy has 2 broken ribs. He has 2 broken ribs, but he knew how big the game was against the Broncos. So he said, no, I'm going in there. Remember, the last game against the Chiefs, the Raiders scored 40 points. 40 points, and the Chiefs scored 32. Derek Carr was able to throw for 347 yards off the Kansas City Chiefs. Josh Jacobs only had 77 yards in that game. And the Raiders, and Henry Ruggs, if you remember, he had a big game. He went for 118 yards. But the thing is, it just came down to what the Raiders were doing in that game. It came down to them just running that ball. They had 144, by the way, all combined. Rushing. 144 yards. Come on. That's what it's going to take against this Chiefs team. They're going to have to run it down their throat. And that will open up the passing game. Derek Carr, like I said, threw for 346 yards. And then the Raiders just got to keep picking up first downs. That's going to be a big thing in this game. A huge thing. Remember, last time Raiders were, I believe, perfect on third down against the Chiefs. They're going to have to be perfect again. They got to be perfect again. That's just the way it is. The Raiders scored 5 touchdowns the last time they played the Chiefs. They might need that again. But most importantly, because they could run the ball, here's the most important stat you need to know about the last time the Raiders played the Chiefs in Arrowhead. Time of possession. The Raiders 35 minutes and 18 seconds to the Kansas City Chiefs 24 minutes and 42 seconds. There's the ball game. There's the ball game. That means you're running it well. And that means no one can stop the Raiders when they're running it well. That's what we should all know by now, anyways. So here we go, guys. Buckle up. The Raiders come off a huge win against Denver and beat the living crap out of them 37-12. And now they head into the biggest game, I don't know, maybe in over a decade against the Kansas City Chiefs. This is a huge primetime game. Definitely their biggest game since they've been the Las Vegas Raiders, right? We can say that for certainty. So this is it. Sunday Night Football. Raiders versus the Chiefs. The Raiders are the biggest underdogs. Can they really pull off the miracle and shock the world and become Super Bowl legit contenders? Or do they get spanked and they go back and they go 8-8 or 9-7, and if they make the playoffs, they lose one. They get in one and done, and that's it. That's it. Or they go 8-8 and miss the playoffs because Miami gets in there and Indianapolis gets in there. A bunch of teams get in there. Raiders get lost in a shuffle. It all depends how we see them play on Sunday Night Football. Here we go, guys. I will talk to you, obviously, after the game, and we will recap what happened between your Las Vegas Raiders versus the Kansas City Chiefs. My name is Stephen Michaels. This is the greatest Raiders radio show you ever listened to in your life. This is the Raiders Daily Podcast.